Hi there, my name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, or as I like to call it, Code. I have done this episode now like 3 or 4 times, at least two. This will be the third subject, what a shocker. Third different subject I have done for this episode. So, if you are one of my regular viewers, at this point you're like, dude, seriously, cooking, cleaning, your politics, your fighting SJWs are all over the place. You're right, I am all over the place. And I'm okay with that, because these are my confessions. Because I'm the domestic engineer. So in today's episode, I want to just do something kind of light and fluffy. I figure after a cooking episode and a cleaning episode, let's do some rock and roll. So in this episode, I'm going to give my top 10 choices for vocalists. I'm using the keyword of vocalists, not singers, vocalists, for rock/metal. Now, let me be very clear. I left out pretty much most of power metal out of contention and operatic metal out of contention. It's a totally different style of singing, and yes, it is part of metal, but they also all sound the same to me after a while. Yeah, they sound different, blah, 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 and I know everybody's got their different choices, but I wanted a little more range than just doing, say, that classical metal style, you know. A lot of those vocalists, they kind of have that one range and they're stuck in that range and trying to do other stuff. Not necessarily going to happen. I wanted people that had some good range to them, had some depth, could take it around to various styles even within their own genre, we'll say, okay? So let me get into this. And I know right off the bat you're going to be like, what the hell? Okay, so first choice, which we're going to start at number 10. Number 10 and work our way up to number 1, okay? So this is my actual top 10. Number 10, Bon Scott. Can't start this list without Bon Scott. I know people are going to be right off the bat, what the hell was he just talking about? And then he starts with Bon Scott. Bon Scott, oh, dude just had such a voice, and his delivery was just profound. I loved it, every last bit of it, you know. You just imagine if Bon Scott had lived. I mean, yeah, okay, we never would have got the Back in Black album, which kind of sucks, and there's, I'm sure, a few other albums we would have definitely not got. A few songs might have shown up. But what I'm trying to get at is the different styles we could have gotten out of Bon. I do believe he would have been very heavily more just towards the bluesy-ish side of rock, or rock and blues and whatnot. But I do think that we could have gotten some pretty kick-ass hard rock, heavy metal. I mean, we were already getting there when you look at the Highway to Hell album, which was his last album. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Alright, moving on. Next. This one's going to be another one that people are going to go, really? But, hear me out. Roger Daltrey of The Who. Reason why he's on the list is, out of all the ones that came out of the 60s, he didn't have any of that suave polishing you heard with the Stones or the Beatles. You know, there was a total rawness there in the voice. You know, the whole band in general, there was kind of this rawness there. I don't want to use the word proto-punk, but kind of proto-punkish. You know, just that raw energy that was ready to explode at any time. But Roger Daltrey's voice just really, I mean, those high pitch, you know, like they were just magnificent. There's a reason why they were picked for, that run of TV series that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, to open up every episode. You know, deliver a cheesy catch line. You know. But his voice, over the years, and he, well, in his 60s, he can't quite hit the high notes the way he used to. Who the hell can? He still can deliver at any concert video I've ever watched. Now, the next entry, I did make sure to get some European entries in here. Let's be very clear. The next one, Vilvelo. Apologies if I say that wrong. The lead vocalist for him, H.I.M. His Infernal Majesty is also another way that's been said. Goth. Definitely gothy. Absolutely beautiful voice. And the delivery with his voice, he can do all over the place, like lows, highs, he's in there. I love the way he croons, though, and I really, because of the crooning, I honestly, that's really what got him on this list, because there was no one on my list that really had that crooning sensibility that you get out there, and I thought, I love Glenn Danzig and the way that Glenn croons, but Glenn didn't belong on this list. And, you've got the legendary Elvis, but Elvis is Elvis, and I don't want to put Elvis on this list. So, Vilvelo, and once again, sorry if I say that wrong, is who got on this list, and I absolutely love his voice. If you just go YouTube Wicked Game. He does a cover of Chris Isaak's Wicked Game. And I love Chris Isaak's Wicked Game. It's a great song. Then I heard the hymn version, and I wet myself. Not really, but close to. It was just wow. Like, Chris Isaak's was already, way up here, and then hymn comes out, and they actually go above. And it was just like, whoa. And just amazing. And then you go after that, you get into other songs. You get into Wings of a Butterfly, which is fantastic. Interesting cover of Don't Fear the Reaper. A few other really, really good songs in there that I'm just drawing blanks on at the moment, and I'm sure the diehard fans want to smack me for the blanks I'm drawing right now. Alright, moving on. We have not left our European vocalists yet. Not even in the slightest. Because now we have Till Lindemann of Rammstein. Whoa. Now, the reason why Lindemann got in here is, one, Rammstein obviously, but I love his solo stuff as well. And I love the German operatic voice, the male German operatic voice, the delivery, the storytelling, everything. This man is magnificent, and I really needed someone to represent the low register. I thought of a few different people to do the low register, but Till Lindemann, oh my God, he's the low register, and he can sing. He actually can sing. You listen to him, and he has got one of the most amazing voices. You wouldn't think so as much when you listen to the earlier Rammstein stuff, especially. But when he gets going on the mellower tracks, or not even necessarily the mellower tracks, his song Yukon, his solo track Yukon, just brilliant, his delivery and the way he sings that song, and just wow, gets me right here, whoo. So yeah, that's Lindemann. After that, okay, so I'm gonna say that the next few, they're kind of cliche, and I guarantee 3 out of the 4 3 out of the next 4 would end up on most people's lists. Could fluctuate which one, but 3 out of the 4 would end up on most people's lists. We're going to start off with Freddie Mercury. Oh, how could you do a list and leave Freddie Mercury off it, especially the top 10? Now, Queen may not be one of my top 10 favorite bands. Freddie Mercury is, without a doubt, one of the greatest vocalists in rock and roll. And the different styles he does just within Queen. I mean, you look at the cliche of Bohemian Rhapsody, the one that everybody loves to give the monster credit to Freddie for, which obviously he does deserve. But you start with Bohemian Rhapsody, and then you look at something like Sheer Heart Attack, Seven Seas of Rhyme, like, and that's before you get into like that whole body language kind of thing, getting that whole disco-esque kind of vibe where he gets that whole crazy little thing called Love, where he's got kind of that country little bit going on. Well, the whole song's got that country, you know what I'm saying? You can't do this list and leave Freddie Mercury out. It's not an option, right? Come on. You can't even disagree. It's cliche, but you gotta agree. It's cliche for a reason, After that, the next 3, their places are kind of interchangeable on this list for most people. And then, one of these would usually be, I was talking about 3 out of the 4. Well, one of these most people would remove. I couldn't. I felt wrong. So I'm going to start with Rob Halford. That's number 5, Rob Halford, okay? Now, I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, out of everybody that actually shows up on this list, Judas Priest is the band I own the least amount of albums from. Well, tied for least amount of albums, I should say. I love Judas Priest. I'm not a huge fan, but Rob Halford's voice is undeniably amazing. I mean, those highs. He obviously can do, the cool metal, singing, talking-esque kind of lows, which is cool. But then all of a sudden he pulls it up, and the highs are coming, and they're kind of his trademark thing, right? You always expect that one high that makes you just kind of, yeah. But those highs, they make you shiver for a reason, man. They're just, amazing. Rob Halford is the man. Now you're like, well, if you put Rob Halford there, who's next? Well, there's only one person you can definitely put above Rob Halford. Ronnie James Dio. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ronnie James Dio, man. I mean, come on. First off, he gave us this, okay? Gene Simmons can say what he wants because, but this is Dio, baby. This is Dio. He gave us this. That alone should get him on the list, okay? Seriously, though, have you ever listened to Ronnie James Dio? It doesn't matter if he was in Rainbow. It doesn't matter if he was in Black Sabbath. Although I'm one of the people that prefer to think of it as Heaven and Hell when he was in it, as opposed to Black Sabbath, just because I got a hang up about that one. But you notice, Dio is on this list. Ozzy is not on this list. Dio is. Because Dio is a vocal god, okay? Ozzy's just Ozzy. Dio is a vocal god. This is why Dio is on this list. You cannot go wrong with Dio. Dio crafts and delivers every song like he is telling you a story. He is like the truest of bards, at least vocally. And he can spin a tale that is just amazing. And yeah, Dio. Hell yeah, baby. So who do I follow Dio up with? Who could I possibly put at number 3 on my list? Well, there is one metal vocalist god who I have not mentioned yet. And this metal vocalist god I've seen live. And because I have seen him live not once but twice, both before and after throat cancer, I know what the legendary Bruce Dickinson can do. Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't get to see him in the early prime days. Okay, I didn't even get to see him in the cool kind of middle-esque days. First time I saw him, they were doing the 20th anniversary of Made in England. So I got to hear him do all the classics plus everything from Seventh Son of the Seventh Son back, and then the song Fear of the Dark. Okay, brilliant. Okay, and this was pre throat cancer. Then I saw him about 2-3 years ago now. Yeah. Tracy and I went up to Toronto to go see Maiden because she had never seen them. And we saw them. And this is after the throat cancer. And the dude still gives it. I mean, one, you factor in his age. Two, you factor in the fact that he's had throat cancer, so he's had to have all that taken. And the dude still is amazing. I mean, he doesn't hit the highs quite as high, but wow. I mean, damn. And they're still going. He's still out there every night slinging, doing it. And his performances are unreal. And I have gotten to hear him sing every one of my top 5, I think even my top 10 Maiden songs live. And after throat cancer, I heard him sing my favorite song, which I didn't think he'd be able to do after the throat cancer, which is Flight of Icarus. And he brought it. Is it the same as before? No, it's not the same as before. But when he's firing fire out of his wrists at the same time, like pulling a Rammstein going on there while he's singing, and Bruce Dickinson is master. The master vocalist he is, without a doubt, okay? The last two vocalists basically are tied as far as I'm concerned. The reason I put them in the order I put them in is one vocalist is relatively newer still. The other vocalist is classic rock, big time, true 70s classic rock. But both of them are the only two vocalists ever to make me fall in love with just a person's voice. Well, I'm heterosexual, so let's be very clear. I fell in love with a woman's voice. And I fell in love with what she was singing. And I've heard them both perform the exact same song. And it was the exact same song that made me fall in love with both of their voices. Okay? So, I am doing this based off of seniority. We're going to start with Lzzy Hale. Oh my god, I love Liz Hale. I absolutely adore and worship her. She is, without a doubt, the savior of rock and roll these days, man. Lzzy Hale is a goddess with that voice. She has got the greatest voice in rock and roll, except for the number one person who she's tied with, in my perspective. And if you know the songs that Liz Hale has done, For covers, you already know who the next person is. But we're not there yet. I have seen Liz Hale live, okay? Pictures. This is me. This is the picture I took. If you look from this angle, I am behind the PA system. I was listening to Liz Hale from behind the PA system. I could hear her out of the PA system, obviously, but I was hearing her singing on the stage as well. I could hear the whole band on the stage, but I was listening to her on the stage. And that woman's voice is magnificent. Undeniably the most, oh my God, voice I have ever heard in my life until we get to number one. Now, let me tell you the song that bridges these two vocalists together. All I want to do is make love to you. So you already know where I'm going with my number one vocalist now for sure, if you know vocalists in classic rock. Ann Wilson. Okay. So let me explain. Okay, there are definitely other songs from Heart I love much more than All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, but that song holds such a special place. Okay, so I loved roller skating as a kid. Absolutely loved roller skating. And most of my roller skating was done in the 80s. Late 80s, early 90s. A hobby took... my dad got me and my sister into actually way of spending time with us after him and my mom split. So starting in around like 88 or so, I started going, my dad started taking us roller skating regularly. I loved it. And I discovered so much music on my own that way going roller skating, you know, what I liked, what I didn't like, stuff like that. But this is when All I Want to Do was huge, monstrous. So they played it all the time. Well, I was young, but hitting that age where, you know, I understood stuff, and I understood what was going on, and I fell in love with Ann Wilson, and the way she sung that song, man, I just absolutely, just, my heart melted, and I just fell in love with her. Absolutely, to this day, I still have the biggest crush on Ann Wilson, just because of her voice. Not just that song either. I mean, you listen to every other song she does. You listen to Crazy on You. You listen to Barracuda. You go into the softer, prettier stuff that I'm not a huge fan of, but I like folksy kind of music as well because, you know, believe it or not, I'm a fan of Jewel. Early Jewel, the folksy stuff, not that dance poppy crap she started doing later. But, you know, my mom had the Dog and Butterfly album. I'm not a huge fan of that era. It's a little soft-ish for me. But it was a good... You know, she's got a magnificent voice. And the way she sings is just... Oh, you can't help but love her. But yes, so, Ann Wilson, Liz Hale. Technically, they're tied for me. I love them both equally. I absolutely adore their voices. And they are the... In all honesty, as much as I'd love to work with this vocalist or that vocalist or anything else like that, no. These two are my two top vocalists. You know, I would want to work with in my lifetime for one reason or another on music. If I'm doing a duet, whatever, I don't care. These are my two first choices, hands down, period. They are my first two choices to listen to. One... I'm not going to say the female vocalists, you know, but if I want to throw on female vocalists, yeah, they're my two go-to female vocalists. But I go to both of them at the same time. Now, I had mentioned earlier about Rob Halford and Judas Priest being the band that I have the least, or tied for least amount of CDs from. Heart is actually the other one. I have almost everything from Hailstorm. I don't have their first album, and if they've done any specialty albums or live albums or anything like that. Like, I've got all their studio albums, except for the first studio album, and that's just because the music was so-so for me. But, yeah, Ann Wilson, Liz Hill. Two greatest vocalists I think there are out there. I don't think there's anybody that does better than them. And considering... I mean, I've heard... Okay, to be fair, this list is a little biased. Like I said, I'm doing this just purely based on which one I've been in love with longer. And I've been in love with Ann Wilson's voice longer than I've been in love with Liz Hale's voice. Let's be clear, okay? But, Liz Hale with Hailstorm has done 3 cover albums, or cover EPs, the Reanimate ones. And I've got 2 of the 3. The one I don't have, it's because it's not currently in print and it's way too damn expensive to buy. And I really wish I had it because it's the one that's got all my favorite covers on it. Or not all my favorite, but a good chunk of them. Out of all the covers I have ever heard Liz Hale do, there was only one cover I've ever heard her do where okay, there's 2 songs where I didn't think she did... Her voice just didn't lend right to the song. The first one is Metallica's Ride Lightning. It was done brilliantly. It's just the key and the range wasn't right for Liz. James Hetfield, really young James Hetfield. Old James Hetfield can't do it. They had to change the key and everything like that for playing it live. Okay? That's how that works. Alright. The other one is AC/DC Shoot the Thrill. And not to say that she didn't do well. It's just Brian Johnson's very, very difficult to sing as well. And her voice is too nice to do Brian Johnson. Like she actually sings, not screeches. But I've heard Ann Wilson do Zeppelin and do it way better than Robert Plant. Sorry, but her version of Stairway to Heaven, when she sings, it brings me to tears. Yeah. So anyways, that's my top 10. You notice I even left Alice Cooper off this list. Now, obviously, Alice Cooper is God. But as much as there were true performers on this list, because, I mean, Bruce Dickinson is a performer live. When he gets out there, he performs. Lindemann also is always very active in performing live, stuff like that too. And on the albums, obviously, you get a lot more leeway with albums and what you're doing on the album. I left Alice off because Alice is God, okay? So he's obviously way above everybody on this list, end of story. But I'm honest, I love Alice. Alice is my hero, okay? But he's not... Alice is not doing covers of these guys. And maybe Bon Scott, He might be doing a cover. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. I've actually heard Alice do The Who. So, but he does Who that he can hit. He does My Generation. He's not doing Bob O'Reilly, I've heard Liz Hale sing with Alice, and Liz just knocks it out of the park. I've heard Liz do Bon Scott and knock it right out of the park, I've heard... Yeah, so... Anyways, I'm going off topic. Let me know what you think. There is no right or wrong as far as I'm concerned. These lists are always based off of opinion, right? At the end of the day. This is just my opinion. And I would love to hear your opinion. Give me your top 10s. Honestly. Who you think your top 10 vocalists are. You might have, put what bands they're from just in case. Because there's some new ones out here. I mean, you might come up with a vocalist I haven't discovered yet. The fact that I got Liz Hale on here, as my newest one, that says a lot. Everybody else, basically, except for Vilvello and Lindman, came out of many decades ago. So, you know, definitely leave me comments because I need to discover some. But at the same time, like I said, power metal, that operatic metal, when you get into that stuff, they all start sounding the same to me. I respect them. I do have some. I've done reviews on them. I can't argue over those guys. You know what I mean? But those guys can't do some of this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of. But yeah. So comments. Leave me your list. All right. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Helps me out. I'm cheesy. I'm goofy. I'll pan. Yeah. All right. Sorry. And otherwise, peace, love, and take care.